Hi everyone, this is Jessica Russell, and I decided, since Ali Sard is not available, to make a video this week because of what's happening in Miami and not being in her home, that I would make a video for the weekly energies. Obviously it's not an Ali reading, it's a Jessica reading, so it's Jessica cards, Jessica perspective, just, a little bit of me. But after doing the reading, it made a lot of sense why I had to do it and why I'm doing it. And I kind of went through it ahead to give me a little extra confidence and to really kind of get my thoughts together on what the cards meant to me. And I'm really excited to share it with all of you. So thank you so much for watching, and let's get into the cards. So I used mostly oracle cards with a few tarot cards as well. There's a total of 12 cards. So 9 oracle cards and 3 tarot cards. The oracle cards, I took 3 from the Gateway Oracle deck from Denise Linn. I also picked 3 from another Denise Linn deck, Native Spirit. I think that maybe Ali has used the Native Spirit before, but the Gateway is definitely new and also very cool. And then the third oracle deck is the Magdalene Oracle Guidebook, and the tarot cards I used are the Mother Peace Tarot, which go with this guidebook. And this is a great deck. I highly recommend Mother Peace. It helped me through some really tough challenges and to really have to confront myself, and I feel like they've helped bring in the divine feminine energy that's been coming down for a lot in the last year or two. The 3 oracle cards from Native Spirit are paired with the 3 from Gateway. And then the Magdalene Oracle is paired, 3 of those are paired with 3 Mother Peace cards. So I'll go through these guys first, and then I'll go through the other cards. So we start with what's available, or what's the current challenging that we're facing with healing. The card that I pulled for that is Crucifixion. And the card that's paired with that from the Mother Peace deck is the 3 of Wands. So you can see that there is a mother with 2 children that are kind of doing all sorts of creative crafts on the wall. Like, they're envisioning all sorts of magical, kind of mythical scenes. They're doing hand painting, and they're kind of lighting up the dark of the cave with their imagination. Sort of interesting how the relationship between how we've got the darkness of this forest, this kind of natural forest cavern, whereas this is a real cavern, and the light that's shining through is the light of the sun. So there's a really interesting relationship between the sunlight coming in and the imagination, that's sort of the sun and the fire that's lighting up this scene. There's actually a really strong relationship there. The way I read this is as coming out of the closet. It's time to let go of our fears about what we've been learning, what we've been doing for, in terms of our spiritual journey and spiritual growth, whether it be any sort of divine partner path, twin flame path, soulmate path. A lot of people have been on this journey for, multiple years now, pretty intensively. And I can say for myself, and I'm sure for a lot of other people here, that it's profoundly changed my life, and I know many others' lives, in terms of how we see things, how we perceive, the connection between how we think and how we feel, and how we're developing literally a mind-heart connection in terms of how we approach the world, and letting go of the barriers over our hearts in the process, which means having to let go a lot of traumas, difficulties, purging of the past, purging of old templates, old ways of relating, old ways of being in relationships. So really there's a big I feel like it's, I don't want to say final because I don't know if there's ever a final, but it's a really big ending and turning point as we move through kind of the end of the current eclipse passage, which ends tomorrow, which is the 20th, because I did this a day late for the week because it's Tuesday right now. And that is, I mean, I really feel personally, and I don't know if you guys are feeling it as well, but I really feel that there's been a real pinch point today. And it really, that pinch point kind of reminded me how I felt very close to right before the total solar eclipse when I was in England, and literally our truck for, well, it wasn't a truck, it was a tour bus for our group, got stuck in a downward spiral exit that it wasn't actually was too tall to be cleared for, and we were literally scraping the ceiling to get down this spiral out of the garage on our way to Glastonbury. And it was totally like wild, and it was because it happened because the truck or the van got into a level of the parking garage it wasn't supposed to be in to pick us up, which wasn't any our fault. It was a result of a miscommunication, but it was very symbolic of the challenges, I think, that are coming up at different intervals right now in terms of actually bringing down and descending the energies that we have spent so much time in the last little while, like ascending to, I guess, to reach, and now like we're fully kind of integrating that. And in order to do that, it means this process of sort of letting go and kind of accepting that some of the old ways that we had of being in the world that maybe weren't fully authentic and were somewhat covering our hearts, were just, they kind of have to go. And it had to go for me, which is why I'm doing this video, because I was stopped in my tracks. And so 7 minutes on the first two cards, but I'm going to try and speed it up because I don't want to keep you guys all day. So the second area, the second two cards is a message from Yeshua or Jesus, however you prefer to think of him. And that message is surrender, and it's the Ace of Cups to the left. So I'll just let you guys see that up close. So in this card, we have a naked person that's totally open, totally raw, like totally free, totally fearless, diving into this pool, this overflowing beautiful fountain with two mated swans. And it's speaking a lot when you look at them in tandem, especially when you've got this naked woman who's really just completely let go. She's completely just released herself on the bed. She's not trying to hold on to anything anymore. These two kind of naked, free, carefree, releasing bodies. And I think that it's a really, really strong message about like the importance to let go and surrender to the process right now above all other things, and to fall into our self-love kind of no matter what, even if that seems really scary or like there's a lot of reasons not to do it. It's like we're diving into an open heart. We're diving into those flames and into the sun. Like it's like that sun, it's almost like that sun is coming down, and we need to really embrace that in ourselves. There's a lot of chaos going on in the world right now, a lot of polarization that's happening. And we need to really, really focus on that inner process, on self-love, on taking care of ourselves, and know that things will stabilize soon. But under the circumstances of the chaos, the best thing to do at the immediate present is to surrender. The message from Magdalene is intimacy, and that is tied with the Hierophant. And the Hierophant in this Mother Peace deck is super interesting. It's a really, really interesting card. It's a really, really interesting depiction of the Hierophant. We've got a man. My camera is a little bit blurry when it comes up close, so that's a little bit of a problem to see all the fine detail because this is a mini deck. So I apologize about that. But you've got a man that's dressed up as a woman. He's actually has, you can't really see them, but there's like fake breasts on him, and he's got a skirt on. But it's definitely a man bearded under this costume of facade of being a woman. And there's all these women sitting around praying to the man. And then behind him, we've got like these religious figures of a cross. So there's like the symbolism of the church and organized religion. And then we've also got a man that is with two swords that looks like a warrior. And behind both of them is a walling off nature, walling off the mountains and the rivers and the source. So some very, very strong symbolism there that's highly suggestive of the fact that a lot of the authority that is in place in terms of governments and religions is based in this sort of kind of like a lower sort of masculine energies. And what they've been doing for such a long time in our culture and our society is they've acted to separate the feminine essence, and I would say the divine masculine essence as well, from connecting with our authentic power and with our authentic selves through our connection to nature and to source. And I got some pretty strong messages from Magdalene in pulling this card and in reading this card, but I really feel pretty strongly that a lot of the chaos that we're seeing in the world right now is deeply related to this whole problem, this whole issue that is getting very fully uprooted, upheavaled, and because it needs to be cleared so that we can get back to this, so we can get back to having a balanced connection with source. And it's also essential for us to have healthy, intimate relationships with other people. It's intricately tied. Some of the insights that I was getting was that part of what's really been creating issues with the divine masculine coming through and really connecting intimately with the divine feminine is sort of these sort of stronger karmic ties that a lot of the masculine have to these older structures of lower masculine energies. And so, and also the feminine has really had a lot of clearing away to do of all these past histories of being disempowered and worshiping false idols instead of having our direct connection with source. So we're each healing in different respects. And part of the reason why we've been on this journey with so much blind faith a lot of the time is to force us to come into our own authority, and help us learn how to have that direct connection again and be the powerful spiritual leaders that we are. Generally speaking, the feminine essence has a very strong often has a very strong connection to source. I mean, even if you look at some old art from French art, impressionist artworks, they show women that are having these very strong spiritual experiences that the men were not having. So this it's not a new thing, even though we experiencing it now as if it's a new thing. It's not. It's just going through certain levels of reemergence and upcycling, and it might continue to be this way for a long time, but right now it is reaching a bit of a breaking point in the sense that some of the structures are starting to fall apart a little bit. And I think that really starts to allow the divine masculine to shine through and start asking questions about what is really real for them and what authority really is and what success really is. And I think that's one of the really, really big things that the feminine has to offer the masculine in doing this work is it helps them in their own process as well. With coming to a different level of personal authority that's very, very different from the one that's been in place in society for a very long time now. So that brings me to the kind of like part 2 of the reading. The questions that I'm going to pose next are what's available on the other side of the eclipse passage, which is ending Wednesday morning. And so that includes like the original first eclipse all the way to the new, it starts, basically the eclipse passages run from a new moon to a new moon. And then it contains all of the eclipses that went between those new moons. So because the new moon is on Wednesday morning, technically like all of the transformations that have been happening from this major eclipse passage, including like the really huge total solar eclipse, doesn't really fully end until Wednesday morning. So, and it's really is one of the biggest passages that we'll ever have in our lifetime. And it's going to be, the effects of how that's going to change our lives is going to be seen probably slowly over time. But I know personally it's been like very, very profound, very, very intense energies, like a lot of light work, especially on my trip to Glastonbury, where I got to see a lot of the major sacred sites where there's a lot of Magdalene and Yeshua and Archangel Michael energies there, including going to Whitehorse, going to Glastonbury Abbey, going to the Magdalene Chapel, going to Silbury Hill, and going to Glastonbury Tor. So we really did it all, and and the Red Spring and the White Spring at Chalice Well, and the Tor. So we really did it all. I picked up a lot of incredible energy and information on that trip that I think is guiding basically a lot of my abilities to kind of do these readings right now. So and I guess I kind of started getting away with myself there, but I just wanted to kind of tie that in. And so what is available on the other side of the eclipse passage is Peace Pipe. So this has to do with healing old wounds, forgiving ourselves and others. We don't have to carry the burdens of our old hurts anymore. And I know for myself personally, I've been dealing with this a lot very recently. So I feel this has been coming up very, very much. And I think that the connections that Venus has been making with some of the 5D planets, including this, some people would call it a grand trine, but in cosmic consciousness it's called a grand fire manifestation, where you've got 3 perfect trines making a triangle. And there was a grand fire manifestation yesterday between Venus, Quawar, and Uranus, which is like a very, 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 very big transformation for the heart, in terms of the heart kind of coming from behind to meet up with all of these other upgrades that have been happening for us in the past couple of years. And because that's now just happened, it's, I think, going to allow us to finally release all of this stuff. And I know I've really felt it already a lot. And so I think some of you are going to be able to feel that soon too. But the beauty, even though it's been hard and painful, I think the real beauty of this change that's making it easier to do these releasing of these old wounds is that it's going to clear up our hearts to be these like amazing manifestation tools in terms of creating the lives of our dreams that we really want. And it's going to really change everything. So it's really exciting. And I know personally that I've really struggled with it, but and I probably will still struggle with it in times as we continue to work through some major kind of aspects that are coming in the next few weeks. But probably as we get through the end of fall, things are going to feel a lot different. So right now we have to go through the process of letting these things go. And I also think that I was getting a sense that maybe in the future, this is kind of going to help us lead to living kind of more like, came to me like law of the land, and connecting with the authority of the land, like I was talking about with the Hierophant card. Similar, I feel and see like a strong connection between the two, and how these shifts going on in the world and the shifts going on in our hearts is really going to allow for these deeper kind of connections to happen with a counterpart, and creative, I heard like creative journeys, like vision quests, like fun in a way, like really fun, creative stuff with another person. And so that was really exciting. And how to get there was like, basically it's like, what's the passageway in terms of getting to that next place? And the card I pulled for that was Igniting Courage. And it says, I am strong, valiant, and courageous. And I thought that this was a really fantastic card, and it spoke so truly to, where I've been at, about just finally kind of letting go and realizing that it was time to start standing up for what I believe in and what I think is important, and waving my little flag of truth. And I would say that I would also call that white flag a flag of peace, but not the kind of peace that's like a roll over and die kind of peace. This is like, I'm going to stand my truth that I think that peace is so important, and I'm going to be fierce, not violent, but fierce about my belief in that, and standing up for that, and leading the way in that to make it easier for others who might not be as fortunate or as privileged to follow suit. I mean, at the end of the day, like, personal peace has to come first, and planetary peace is only going to come when we all find our own personal peace and come into our own sense of personal authority. Because while we still right now would probably not manage without external authority in the world, with the shadows that we have in the subconscious and in the way things are still operating, with that comes the abuse of power, and there's been so much of that throughout history that we're trying to heal and move forward from, and so that's really what we're doing, and it's really, really exciting. And I know personally, I really had to learn this lesson strongly this week about standing up for what I believe in, and standing up for people that I thought were less fortunate in some abuses that I saw in another Twin Flame forum. And I ended up getting kicked out of the group for standing up and speaking my truth. But you know what? Like, I have no regrets about that. Whether or not anybody read it or I reached anyone, I don't know. But the fact is that I did it, and I didn't stand for the contortion of a lot of the truths that have been coming up and out, being put into the container of control, power control, of these old kind of masculine energies, trying to take the truth and fit it into the old box of what happened with the original kind of Christianity, and the distortion of Christianity into like a masculine control paradigm, when really, if you go to Glastonbury and you really learn about Mary Magdalene and Jesus, that really wasn't what it was all about at all. They were both totally equals, and if you go and you feel the Glastonbury chapel's energy, it's just absolutely loaded in divine feminine energy. It's one of the most feminine buildings I've ever been in my life. It took me away. it's Christianity and its roots and its origins is not in any way an oppressive thing towards women, and it's not. I don't even think it's really a religion. It's just a way of being that's deeply, deeply, deeply sacred and loving towards fellow humans. I'm getting a little choked up about that, but that's really what you take in when you go there. So next, because I've got to finish this up soon. The next thing is, where is the transformation from the eclipse passage heading? And I've got two cards. I've got Spirit of Air, and I've got Accepting What Is. And Accepting What Is says, I accept and I embrace my inner majesty. Now, I again think that these two cards are like absolutely perfectly paired. They both have the blue, the very bold blue sky. They both are kind of referencing the sky and the cosmos. I don't know if you can see the stars in the background, but this beautiful blue rose is sitting in the cosmic background and held in the embrace of these beautiful hands. And here we've got the blue ray, the blue light shining down from the cosmos onto the earth. And this is, I think it's kind of like beyond profound, really. But my first thoughts, my first hunches when I read this was that what's coming is a really great amount of freedom that we haven't had collectively for a very long time. I think it's the freedom that really was in the original probably teachings of Yeshua and Magdalene that got lost and distorted by people that wanted to have control over other people. And now we have this opportunity again to find our freedom, find that union with ourselves and with our own hearts and with the universe. And we have the opportunity now to kind of attain cosmic consciousness, which, is basically a clarity of mind, clarity of being, and an expansive perception of life where we can kind of see the oneness of everything that is and see that everything is a reflection of ourselves. And so everything we see that we don't like on some level is a distant part of ourself that needs to be reintegrated and rehealed. I just thought that this was really, really amazing. Additional messages that came from the cards are to see the life from the higher perspective, clear out mental clutter. That's really what the Spirit of Air is all about. Some additional thoughts I had about that was that there's so many twin flame forums. There's so many twin flame teachers, YouTube channels. Different people have all sorts of different perspectives on divine partnership teachings, the labels people use. There's just so many different perspectives out there. It's very easy to get overwhelmed. And I think that there has been a bit of clutter of the mental body from so many different people's perspectives being absorbed over the last couple of years. In maybe to some extent that process was necessary in order to come to an understanding about from within really who we all really are and what we really believe in. But some of the residues of some of the things maybe we picked up that don't actually really resonate with who we really are in going through all those teachings needs to be cleared out now. And then what I got was that when we can finish that process, it's going to help us to deal with some of the things in our lives that has been slipping through the cracks because we've been a bit overwhelmed and overloaded mentally with all this other stuff from, I guess, too much conflicting spiritual knowledge, that it's made it hard to really focus enough mentally on the other aspects of our lives that need to be tended to. So it's going to help with that. And it's also going to help majorly with by clearing out that mental body, it's going to allow that blue ray energy that a lot of us are able to channel. I know I can channel it into our hearts, which is the symbol of this flower. The flower is a symbol of our cosmic heart, and shine that light into the world. So we're really doing it, like it's happening, and that's what's coming from going through this whole process. We are doing this, I guess, out of our souls have a lot of great love for and compassion for people on the planet. We want to grow through this process of doing this and make the world more whole and reunified again. Okay, there's 2 more cards. The last question is what is the current message on the current state of the divine feminine? Sorry if I'm stumbling over my words a little. I'm my first video. I'll give myself a little slack, and I have to run off and pick up my daughter from the daycare in like 5 minutes. So we got to get this done while I still have time and daylight. So the first card I have is Thunder Drum, which is an amazing, powerful card, divine feminine card. And the card that goes with that is listening to your heart. And it says, I trust the messages I receive from my heart. So, I mean, just off of first glance, first intuition, I think the summary message is that there's divine feminine is becoming more aware of herself, coming into recognition of her power through her very deep connection with nature and all of the cosmos. And the way that we're going about coming into that is by connecting with our hearts and listening to our hearts. And our angels and guides speak to us through the heart. And that is why it's so important that we clear out the mental clutter with this spirit of air. Take walks, go outside, listen to the wind. I know I plan on taking my daughter on a walk somewhere outside of town, like hopefully in a couple of weekends or maybe even sooner, like when the fall starts to turn, because it's a little sooner up here because I'm in Canada, and enjoy all those beautiful colors and take it all in, because that's going to help us to clear out all the stuff that's keeping us in any way from stepping into our heart, which is really what's so important right now in order to do this process of bringing down our power and bringing in that light, that powerful light into our hearts and expressing it through our hearts. So there's a couple more things I wanted to say about that. So, you know, again, this is a very strong symbol of how the divine feminine is currently coming into her own authority. And it's very much why I had to take the day off work today. I actually it was so profound this morning that I couldn't even call into work to say I wasn't coming. I had to stop. I had to get still. I had to completely abandon my mind and let these guides speak to my heart. And then eventually, once I had sat there long enough, they told me to do this reading. And then I pulled these great cards telling me kind of what I'd already been going through and what I kind of already know, but that to share it with everybody else as coming into my authority in that sense has been really hard for me, really scary for me. I know I personally have had a lot of fears about showing my true self. And I used to be a mega perfectionist. And I've come a long way since that, from being like all in the head, super perfectionist, you know, doing everything for everybody else, wanting to make others happy. You know, when I was like very 3D, it was just like, in some respects, I was really good at that. But then life kept pushing me into greater and greater challenges. And no matter what I did, no matter how stable I was, it found its way to like put it, a bomb into my life and break it up so that I could step into this role because I'm supposed to do it. So that's why I'm here today. A couple more things that the cards wanted to say was that this is not a time to step back or step aside. It's a time to step into our passion. It's a time to stand up for what we believe in, for others less fortunate than us, and for what really matters to us or to you. So, there it is. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. Because, just because Allie's not able to be here this week doesn't mean that it's time to in any way step back from what we're doing on this journey and on our personal growth process. Quite the opposite. It's time to step it up. So, and maybe in a sense, by Allie not being able to be here, it forced me even more to do that. And perhaps maybe for some others of you as well that are watching this and reflecting on it and thinking about it. So I'm really, really happy that I did this video. I hope that you guys got something out of it and that it resonated with you. And who knows, maybe I'll do another one sometime. But yeah, for now I just have to figure out how to explain to my bosses that why I didn't show up at work today, or even tell them that I wasn't going to be there. So anyway, this was great. I loved it. I feel like who knows where it's all going, but it feels really, really, really good to be honoring myself, and I'm very, very, very grateful to be able to share it all with you. So my love, take care. Bye-bye. Have a great week.